Welcome to The Narrative, a podcast of untold stories, a place where silence is broken, secrets are unearthed, and stories find their voice. I'm Dr. Crystal Ann England, therapist, storyteller, and your guide for healing through truth. From intergenerational wisdom to identity, race, purpose, and power, this is a sacred space for the stories we were never taught to tell, but always needed to hear. Because healing begins when our stories are spoken. Hello and welcome. This is the Narrative of Untold Stories podcast. My name is Dr. Crystal Ann England, licensed marriage and family therapist, and your guide through truth and healing through storytelling. So I wanted to share this with you guys. Normally, when I have guests on my show, I normally will start the camera before we're even ready, just to get warmed up, just to start the conversation. And most of the time, that footage does not even see the light of day, right? It gets cut, it gets edited out. However, this time, that footage was too good to not share with you guys. In this second episode that I sit down with Dawn Smith, the farming psychologist, I wanted to share with you the incredible conversation we had about motherhood and all the things in between. It was too good not to share. So listen, family, sit back, relax, grab your cup of tea, grab your journal. Maybe it might stir up some things inside of you that might want to come out on the paper, and allow yourself to be present in the moment with us.
I don't know how you are, but for me, at my big old age, I still need my mom and my dad sometimes. And I'm like, Mom, call mommy crying. So it's almost like no matter how old you get, you're always, you need your parents differently,
It's
but you
good that
still
you
always.
say that. It's really good that you say that because last night, Samuel, the younger one, and I, we were having a conversation, and I said, Sam, why didn't you call me? Like he was talking about it. And he goes, Mom, I don't want to worry you. And I'm like, that is my job. That's my job. You don't get to tell me that I don't worry. And I said, I'm not a worrier. I am solution oriented.
Mhm.
So when you tell me something, I don't want you to ever worry that I don't want to tell mom because mom is going to find solutions. So
Mhm.
you're absolutely correct. You never stop being a parent once you're a parent. You
Yeah.
just don't stop. It's for us to understand what the different dynamics mean. What does a 16-year-old need compares to a 30-year-old or a 50-year-old, you know? It's
Mhm.
understanding those different eras of their journey called life.
Always tell my mom, when I was a kid, I needed you to tell me what to do because I didn't have experience. But now as an adult, I just need you to be quiet and listen. Right. There's a transition that happens. The open mouth, and now there's a closed mouth. And this is where we are. We're in the closed mouth. Okay, what do you need from me? How can I help? Right? Um, and you're right. And those transitions, I think not just for kids, but even for parents, understanding our role, because nobody talks about that. The transition that you go through when you start to have adult kids, that they need you differently. And they don't a lot of times they don't need your advice per se. They may, but let's be honest, at 21, they think they know everything, right? So it's more of, okay, do you want mom to give you some advice, or do you want me just to listen? Okay, I'm gonna listen then. Go. Go. Okay, you talk, I'm gonna listen. Okay. Right?
The Caribbean parents who have a total different socialization of what parenting is. I think a lot of Caribbean parents just think parenting ends at 18.
Really?
I- I-
Is that what
Oh,
really?
yes. Oh, yes. You're adult now. Yeah, I don't know. And as soon as children start their little jobs, their parents that expects them to just send the money home or take the money home and when you talk about, well, what about their building their own foundation? What about, you'll hear the story. I heard one girl recently said her son is her pension plan. He's my pension
She said that
plan,
out loud
you know?
for other people to hear?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes, because she was upset that the son apparently is doing well and is not giving her more money than she expected. So, it's a lot of dynamics to the unspoken language of parenting in the Caribbean.
This work, right? And this ties in so much to, I'm sure, the work that you do
Yes.
with your individuals, but also your families. And it's such a delicate balance of honoring the Caribbean traditions, but also breaking some of that, because just because it's how we've always done it does not mean that it's healthy or that it's good for all the people involved, right? So this idea of, yeah, you have kids and then your kids take care of you. If your kids want to take care of you, that's a beautiful thing. But are they required, right? And having those conversations sometimes with parents, I'm sure they don't always want to hear that, right? It's like, this is what it is. I took care of my mommy, and so therefore my kids have to take care of me.
It's the expectations that comes with parenting over the decades, right? Over the centuries that were never spoken about.
Mhm.
And the minute you even try to interrupt that to say, no, this hurts me, is who dare you?
Yeah.
And so this is why trauma in the Caribbean have to be dealt with differently than trauma anywhere else,
Mhm.
because trauma is not even viewed as trauma. It's viewed as that's life. Get over it. And so we have so many unhealed persons, which is why the cycle continues, because we have so many unhealed parents who are parenting the way they were parented and still not open to the reality that, man, what if my child really needs something more than what I'm giving in this moment? And how do you have that conversation safely?
It's definitely all of it, Dawn, is such a challenge for sure. I mean, and what, a lot of the work that I do, that I see, is with Caribbean people who are now in America, right? Or they're in Canada, or they're in other places of the world, so the diaspora. And what ends up happening is there are these traditional understandings of parenting that are now be meeting up with modern ways of thinking. And there's a misalignment because children are expecting, well, look, my friends talk to my mom or their moms in this particular way. They have conversations and they're able to have dialogue and discourse. I can't even talk to my mommy. If something is wrong, that isn't even an option. And so there's this almost resentment that builds because there's a disconnect between
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
these kids are seeing versus what the parents are bringing from their home
Right.
countries, right? And
Right. Right.
I guess as clinicians, it's really, you said something earlier. It is so important that we are actively doing the work within ourselves so that we are
Yeah.
ready to have those conversations with other
Absolutely.
people. Because,
Yeah.
in other professions, if you're an oncologist, you don't have to have had cancer to be a good oncologist. You could be a great
No.
oncologist and never have cancer, right? But in our profession, we are far more effective if we have done the work. And because we're able to navigate within ourselves, then we're able to regulate ourselves. We're able to pick up on patterns and things. Oh, I see that behavior. I understand that behavior, not only because I see it in my family, because I've seen it in myself. And because
Mhm.
I've seen it in
Mhm.
myself, I understand how to draw it out and how to help another person because I've met myself in that dark place, right? Or even maybe even if you're still going through it, there's a certain level of understanding that you have that if you're not doing this work, what are you gonna do? Read a book about it? The
Mhm,
human
mhm.
experience and then try to guide based on what the book said?
Let me share something with you. I teach a course in family violence, and I use the term ACEs a lot, and I just take it for granted that the students would have already done psychopathology, and so they would have already understood, uh, traumas and such forth. So one student stopped to me a couple weeks ago, and he says, "Miss, I have an idea of what ACEs are, but I would love if you would show us the physical thing. What does it look like? What are the questions? And I think we would better understand how to apply to what you're teaching." Because I was using we used a song to start the class. And the song is from a very famous Jamaican artist, Queen Ifrica. The song is Daddy Don't Touch Me There. Daddy, don't touch me there. I'm gonna tell on you one day, I swear. You're supposed to be my father, right? And I used that song to open the class because we were going to talk about child sexual abuse. Now, the statement I made to them is based on her situation that she recently spoke about living in a domestic violence. I was saying to them, guys, did you see how ACEs come into play? And that's when the student stopped me and he said, "Miss, I have an idea, but we have never done this." So I said, well, let's pause. Everybody get a pen and a paper. And I tell them right from 1 to 10. And all I want is yes or no. And Dr. Chris, you know what ACEs are. You know the prevalence of ACEs. You know the statistics around persons who even have more than two ACEs, what life is projected to be for them. And let me tell you something. There are 16 students in the class. There was no person with zero yeses. Follow me. Which means that 100% of the class have experienced childhood traumas. So when I say, okay, how many persons have one? No hand went up. When I said two, no hand. When I said three, couple of hands went up. When I said four, more hands went up. So I was going to stop and just say five or more, but something said to me, keep going with the numbers. There were students in the class that has 8 ACEs, and they are going to be forensic psychologists. And so I stopped the class. I didn't teach for the rest of the class. All we did was talk about what it is, how is it impacting you. Now that you understand, do you want to share? We created a safe space. One lady was now saying, "This is why I behave the way I do." So I had them watch a video on how ACEs impact brain development. And the thing is that when you have an understanding of what is happening with you, why your personality is the way it is, why your attachment style is the way it is, when you can look at that correlation, it better helps you to help you. And when you help you, you're so much better prepared to help your clients. And so my encouragement to them was to ensure that every single one of them complete their personal therapy, because you need to do 20 hours of personal therapy before you start practicing. And it is so important that the statement that you made, we have to be whole. We have to understand our own pain and our own traumas and how they impact our lives and deal with them so that we don't have transference, counter transference, so that we understand what our blind spots are. One lady told me that she had a case. She's a social worker. She had a case, and the man, prior to the man, raped a little girl, and she wanted to literally don't even assess the case. She just wanted to lock him up because of her own experiences. And then she said she had to say to herself, no, I have to go through the process. So that's a blind spot for her. So she have to understand now her blind spot as therapists, we have to understand our own blind spots, what they are, so that we can take care of them. And even if they show up in a therapy session because we understand what they are, we're able to take a step back, breathe, and do what we ought to do as therapists.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you know, Don, when you do this work long enough, you encounter lots of colleagues and you see on the spectrum what it looks like when people aren't doing the work versus when people, and not to say judgment, but
Right.
judgment,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because we're
Yeah.
humans, but not only that, but there's this again in certain professions, right? If you own an ice cream shop, you don't never have to do the work if you never don't want to, because it doesn't necessarily come into play with ice cream.
Right.
If you're
Right.
a lawyer, maybe it might help if you do the work, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to, right? But in this line of work, in this career, in this profession, exactly to what you said, um we are constantly, the same way earlier I said to you, God knows what he gives you when he gives you your children, right?
Children. Yeah.
God also knows what he gives you when he gives you your clients.
Oh, yes. Oh, for sure.
Right? I'm sure
For
you
sure.
know, Don, how many times you're going through something and then you get a phone call and the client starts mirroring back all the exact same things and you're like, God, I see you. Lord, I hear you loud and clear, right? The parallels between the stories and the mirroring and sometimes the way that God will require you to face the very things that you're trying to run from in your own life. And now here's this client dealing with similar things and you can't run. I mean, you could say, "Oh, we're not a good fit. Let me help you find another clinician." But where's the growth in that?
Right. And it's just, oh, this is so powerful. It's just like you can't say, I want muscles and not lift the weight. So the muscles don't come by you saying, I want muscles. The muscles come by you lifting the weight, being consistent with what you're doing. And so if you want to be a great therapist, it doesn't come by just saying, I want to be a great therapist. It's going to come with challenges for you to solve. And why our profession is so precious and sensitive is because we bring healing, we bring restoration, and healing and restoration and transformation cannot come from a place that is filled with blockage. It just can't. And so when a therapist, or as you said, you can know the difference with therapists who are just working from their textbook versus a therapist who have lived the experiences. And God knows I don't want all the experiences my clients come to me with. I pray to God I don't want them. But what I do ask for is the grace and the empathy and the patience to be able to help people to reach the transformation that they're looking for, because it is possible. And that's why we do what we do.
Absolutely. That grace, that grace. When you say that, I think, Donna, of there are certain cases that I go into that you're right. I'm I don't want to know that kind of trauma personally, but in order for me to be able to even show up sometimes, I have to go into that session before I'm asking
Mhm.
God, Lord, use me as a vessel because I'm stuck sometimes in certain situations, or I feel like certain, right? I might still be working through my own triggers.
Yes.
And I'll
Yes.
say, God, I ask that you guide me to what it is that needs to happen here. Because if I'm going on my own, you know, one of the things I talk to my colleagues a lot about is we do no harm. And when you are not healed, or when you're, and I don't even say healed because we are always healing. We're never healed.
Right,
No
right,
person is ever healed, right? It's
right,
like
right, right,
you're
right.
always on the journey. But when you're not at least cognizant of being on the journey, you can do harm. And if our job is to do no harm, then if you're not healing and you're not working on yourself, whether or not you're aware of it, there may be times, there will be times that you will do harm
Absolutely.
emotionally.
Unconsciously. Yeah.
Yes. Um, I thought of something the other day, Don. I was having this conversation with a client, and I could tell that I had triggered her in something that I said to her, not realizing that that was a trigger for her. And then in turn, her behavior towards me triggered me. And it made me remember what my mom used to do to me when my mom would get upset. And so now the two of us were being triggered by things that had nothing to do with our therapeutic
Mhm,
relationship, but
mhm.
from histories past, right? I'm sure somewhere in her history, there was something, an interaction that led her to feel triggered by something I said. And for me, it was something she did to me that felt like what my mom always does, which was like a dismissal, right? With no ability to have discourse after the dismissal, right? And I really had to sit with that for a while. And I was like, what is this? And I even considered, maybe I should end this therapeutic relationship because I don't like the way that I feel when I meet sometimes, and I'm triggered by her behavior, this dismissal. And then a few days went by and I prayed about it. I saw my own therapist. We talked about it. And I said, "No, I'm not going to I'm not going to walk away from this therapeutic relationship. I'm going to have a hard conversation with her. And I'm going to tell her how, when we have interactions and we don't have opportunities to have discourse after disagreement, that this is another way in which she's actually showing up in a particular way that could be affecting the other people around her." Because then it
Her.
occurred to me that this is how her daughter feels.
Thank you as always for watching. And if you like what you see, go ahead and tap that like button, subscribe, share, all of that amazing, incredible things. And I want to tell you guys that I am so grateful for all the love and all the outpouring. Your feedback is important, and it helps me to and my producer, my team, to make this better for you guys. Sending you so much love, family. Thank you. I hope you enjoy.